Is your timetable working for you, or are you just going through your day without any kind of semblance of what to study, when to study? Well, every bank aspirant needs a proper timetable, and I know you have seen lot of videos on YouTube about it, but I promise you this one is going to be a lot different. So watch till the end, and I'm sure that you can get a lot of value out of this video. And if you are new here, my mission is to help you succeed in all kinds of competitive examinations through the medium of self-study. So if you want to join me in this journey, please click on the subscribe button and do not forget to click the bell icon so that you, my friend, do not miss any future update. Let's start with this video. Hi, this is Shupriyo. So today I am going to explain the timetable of a banking aspirant, and this will be an ideal timetable which will be working for you. It's not something that you will be running after, but this timetable, if you can apply it to your personal context, it will help you get success in all the competitive examinations. And this can be used by anybody, not just a generic kind of thing that you can find on YouTube, but this will be a very targeted session. So let's begin. So the first thing that I want to talk about before we begin is whether we really need a new timetable. Do you actually need a timetable? Now there are several arguments against having a timetable. So many people say that we should just wing it. Many people say that whenever I am in the flow, I can go ahead and I can do maths, or I can do quant, I can do reasoning, I can do English. I can work so much better if I do not constrain myself to a particular system, to a particular set of beliefs, because they feel that their motivation alone can carry them through. But this is actually not always the case. Why is that? This is because there is something called motivation versus systems. So motivation, this is exactly what you will be focusing on if you feel that you do not really need a timetable. You are working through your own motivation. So you feel that, okay, today I really want to study, today I really want to work hard, so I will be able to study, I will be able to achieve a lot. But the person who is not actually dependent on motivation, he works on systems. So what can systems do that motivation cannot? The most important distinction is that a system, it will always work. So it is not like motivation. आज तो आपके पास अच्छा मोटिवेशन हो सकता है, मगर इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि tomorrow also you will be having the same kind of motivation, right? Tomorrow you might not feel like studying. Tomorrow you might have some kind of problems, but if you have proper set of systems, then you will always be able to study. Now, before we actually jump into the exact process, there are 5 questions that I want you to ask yourself, and through these 5 questions we can actually understand whether or not you actually need a timetable. So let's go. So what are these 5 questions that I was talking about? So you have to answer yes or no to all of these questions. So 5 questions I am going to put to you, and you tell me yes or no. First question: the study structure that you are currently following, are you able to set specific and measurable goals for your studies? Question number 2: in your study structure that you are currently following, is there a way at the end of the day you can calculate how much percentage of the work that you had actually set out to do you have been able to complete? Can you calculate that percentage? Okay. Third question: at the end of the day, do you feel that you have gotten closer to your objective than you were at the beginning of the day? Question number 4 now: at the end of the day, do you feel happy with how much you have achieved throughout the day? And finally, the 5th question is: at the end of the day, are you tired with what you have done throughout the day after working for such a long amount of time? So I hope that you have answered yes or no. If you have answered no to any of these questions, then you, my friend, are in need of a new timetable, a new study plan. So I hope that now you understand properly whether you need a timetable or not. So what's the one constant thing? So the one constant thing that you must remember is that you are never going to be happy with your timetable. You might say that this is a very pessimistic approach, but I will say that it's a very realistic approach, because any kind of timetable that you make, it will never be the perfect timetable. Every day you are going to be incrementally better, and every day you will be able to decide on the better things. So that is why I want to tell you that do not always think about the perfect timetable, because the perfect timetable is something that you will get to after you have gone through a lot of iterations. So you will always feel that something is missing, but remember that if you follow a proper set of guidelines and systems, nothing is impossible, and you can actually get a very customized timetable done for you. So another important thing to note is what is our actual goal. So what is the goal of our timetable? The goal is to attain a state that is called flow. So what is flow? Flow is something that was actually discovered by a scientist by the name of Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi in 1975. So this person, he actually discovered that when our brain is actually totally immersed in something, when we are totally immersed in the work that we are doing, we can forget time itself, and we can feel that whatever we are doing, it is as if a flowing water. It is as if something is just going through without any kind of effort. So you will just forget all about applying any effort, and it will be a certain automatic mode by which you will be able to do all of these tasks. So that is our exact goal. We need to attain that state of flow. So remember, through our timetable, we are trying to achieve that state of flow, that psychological state in which we will be able to do all the work that we need without applying any kind of effort. It will be like flowing water. So to get to that, what we have to do, first we need to understand our personality. So there are two kinds of people in this world. If you go by how we are going to design our timetable, so you have to do a last 10-day analysis to understand your habits. When are you waking up? When are you going to sleep? So the two types of people, the first kind of person is the early morning riser. So this person, he or she will actually rise up early in the morning and get a lot of work done early in the day, and after that, as the day comes to an end, they will be sleeping, and again they will be early to rise, early to bed. So this is a morning person. And the second type, it is a night owl. So who is a night owl? Person who will be actually waiting to go to sleep till 2:30, almost 3 a.m. in the night, and then they will be waking up a bit late. So a night owl or a morning person. There are two kinds of people, and the strategies that I am going to tell you about the timetable, these will be applicable differently to these different types of people. Now you might be asking, what is the best type? The best type is your type. So do not worry if you are a morning person or if you are a night owl. Success can be achieved by anyone. So you do not really need to worry about it, and do not think that you have to wake up in the early morning or you have to sleep very very early. Do not worry about those things, because you cannot change your personality overnight. So remain with whatever you are. So you do not need to change. There is no requirement for you to actually change to crack these bank exams. So another important thing, what is something that I do not believe in? So I do not believe that there is any particular strategy that will be working for each and every one of us. So I believe that each and everything that you are now going to be seeing in this video, everything has to be tailored to your particular personality. So if you want any tweaks done based on your personality, feel free to write down in the comments, and also you can write down in the comments whether you are a morning person or a night owl. I would like to know which one of the following categories you actually fall in. So do not worry, there is not a particular strategy that fits everybody. It is a strategy that everybody needs to fit to themselves in their unique way. So another thing that you need to understand is the difference between effective timetable and an efficient timetable. So what do I mean by effective versus efficient? So first let us talk about who is an efficient person. An efficient person is somebody who does not waste even a moment of their life. So you will always find them working. They are always solving problems. अभी क्वांट कर लिया, दूसरे मोमेंट पे इंग्लिश पढ़ लिया, तीसरे मोमेंट पे जाके रीजनिंग के कुछ सम्स कर लिए. तो they are not wasting any time. They are working. But if you are doing this at all points of time, you are not self-reflecting. Remember, this exam is not something that you can get through by brute force. You need to strategize. You need to understand what works and what does not work. So an efficient person, he or she is very eager to do work. So they are working a lot, but they are not fine tuning. So that brings us to effective. So who is an effective person? An effective person is somebody that will be taking all of these inputs and then using it to find out where he or she is lacking, and then targeted practice is being done by this person and they are incrementally improving each and every day. So to be effective, you do not always need to be efficient. Remember this, and this is a very important management mantra, you can say, which was invented by Peter F. Drucker. Now I am a big fan of Peter Drucker and his works, and I encourage you all to read his books. They provide a deep glimpse into how you can become a better executive, how you can become better at your life. So important, remember that you need to be effective, not just efficient. Now let's see if you are a natural multitasker. So this is also something which I want to talk about because of task switching. So what is actually task switching? To make you understand task switching, I want you to do a small activity. So take out a piece of paper, or if you want you can even do it in your head. So two things you have to do. On the left column of the paper, write down A to Z. So you have to write A, B, C, D like that. On the second paper, you have to write down from 50 to 1. So 50, 49, 48 like this you have to write down. But there is a twist. What is this twist? The twist is that you have to first write the alphabet, then the number. So write down A, then 50, then B, then 49, then C, then 48. Like this you write down in the paper. So after you have done this, then again in the paper, just do it one by one. So A to Z you write down, and then you write down 50 to 1 in the backwards order. If you do this, you will be seeing a very interesting pattern. In the first exercise, I made you write A, then 50, then B, then 49, then C, then 48 like this. So if you are alternating between these two tasks, 99% of people will be taking a lot longer to complete this activity than the activity in which they had written down from A to Z and then from 50 to 1. So you can actually time yourself using a stopwatch and do these two activities, and the difference that you find in the time required for completion is your task switching cost. So this is what I was talking about when I am talking about task switching cost. So whenever you are doing task A and then you are switching to task B, it actually has an added cost. You are actually finishing off this task and then you are starting this, right? So you have to just, your brain has to forget about this task A, and in turn your brain has to think about task B. So you are actually spending a lot of time in switching between these two tasks, and this is the task switching cost. And I have seen that for most of the people who are not geniuses, who cannot do multiple tasks like me, I am not a genius, I am very very bad at multitasking. So I have seen that whenever I am doing one task, it actually helps me to keep on doing this task for a long amount of time, and until I finish off that task, if I start another task, then it actually becomes a lot more difficult for me to manage. It becomes a lot more difficult for me to have the focus as well. So I want you to calculate your task switching cost. So as I told you, do this exercise and then you will be able to understand the actual difference. And if you find that your task switching cost is actually becoming very high, then it becomes a very very important thing for you to avoid multitasking. So the strategies that I am going to tell you today, they will prevent you from doing all of these multitasking. So I am going to be using something from the Stanford University research. So what is the research that I am talking about? So Stanford University, they have actually done a research in which they have found a very interesting thing. They had done a research on willpower, and their research found that willpower decreases over the course of the day, or as your energy gets spent on stress and self-control. And this has now become the muscle model of willpower. So like our biceps and our triceps, the willpower muscle can also be exhausted from effort. Can you believe that? Willpower is actually a muscle which is found by the Stanford University research. So because they have found this to be a kind of a muscle, so the day that you are structuring, whatever be your day, you have to properly arrange the time so that you are not wasting your time and you are getting your work done in the most productive hours of the day. So I have done a lot of research, I have studied a lot of things, and I have found out the ideal kind of a timetable that will be working for you, and I'll take you through that just in a moment. First, before we go to that, you have to understand what is batching. Now batching, what this means is that just think of a small example like your laundry. When do you do your laundry? Every time that your shirt is dirty or your socks are dirty, do you go ahead and wash them? No, you do not do that, right? So when do you actually do this? When you have accumulated a lot of number of clothes, then you go ahead into the washing machine, you put your clothes, and then you can batch all of your things together, right? So this is what is called batching, and I want you to actually study in a batching kind of a way. So you can use this kind of a thing to study each and every subject on a separate day. Yes, I do not advocate that you do all of the subjects on the same day. You have to do it on different days. So what do I exactly mean by this? I'll explain everything to you. As I told you, I do not believe that you need to study all the subjects on all of the days. So what I will do is, on Mondays and on Tuesdays, I will be studying only quant. So those 2 days are blocked for only quant. Then on Wednesday, what you will be doing? You will be studying only English. So English, when I am talking about English, I am also talking about the descriptive section and also the other types of English that are asked in the prelims examination. So mains and the prelims, both I am talking about. So Wednesday, it is blocked for English. Then you come to Thursday and Friday. So these 2 days, they are blocked for reasoning. So these 2 days, I will be specially focusing on the reasoning parts. Now, this is all about the weekdays. And what about the weekends? So on Saturdays and on Sundays, what I will be doing? I will be doing most of the mock tests. And also another thing that I want to make clear is, as I told you, that GA and reading, these are the 2 things which are common for each and every day. So each and every day you have to do your GA preparation and also you have to do your reading. These 2 things are very important each and every single day. And this is the entire concept of batching, as I told you. So I will be batching even my mock tests. So for example, the Saturday and Sunday, I could use to give a lot of prelims mock tests because they take only 1 hour. So you can even give 6 to 7 mock tests on these 2 dates, and then the rest of the week you can take to actually analyze where it went wrong, where it went right. So these 2 days are very important for the mock tests. Even if you are giving mains mock tests, then you can give at least 3 mock tests, or if you can manage, you can give 4 mock tests on the weekend. So this will actually help you a lot because you are batching your mock tests on the weekends, and the other days you are actually picking apart all of the questions of that particular subject. So on the Monday and on Tuesday, you are picking apart all the quant questions. Then on your Wednesday, you are picking apart all the English questions. And similarly, on Thursday and Friday, you are doing the reasoning questions. So this is actually how I structure the week. So I hope you understood how I am actually batching my study time so that I can study on different days, different things. So this is the crux of the timetable that I am going to show you. I have also something interesting to tell you regarding bespoke batching. So what is bespoke batching? It means bespoke basically means that you are tailor making it to your strengths and weaknesses. So this bespoke batching, this basically means that just as I showed you how I am batching my study in the different days of the week, you can do it for yourself. Just try and apply it in your own context. Also, another thing that I want to talk you through is it should be very simple. So simplicity is the key tenet that we are actually aiming for, and I have something called TASK acronym. So what does this acronym stand for? T, it stands for task switching cost reduction. So I am trying to reduce my task switching cost through my timetable. Second thing, it is A for adaptable. So my timetable, it needs to be adaptable. It needs to be such that I can fine tune it based on my needs. S it stands for simple. So my timetable, it must be simple. And the fourth thing is knowledge enhancement. So my timetable, it should be a tool which will help me to enhance my own knowledge. So these are the four tenets that I always use when I'm thinking of a timetable, and now I will be taking you through the exact timetable. So first we come to a morning person's timetable. So what should a morning person do? Well, let's find out. So the morning person, he or she should be waking up at about 6:30 a.m. This is very important because some people will be waking up even earlier than this, and if you are waking up at 6 o'clock or 5:30, then I am very proud of you. Most people are not going to be doing that, so I will be structuring it according to most morning people. So what you should be doing from 6:30. So from 6:30 you are waking up, you are just freshening up, and you should do some kind of exercise. This is very, very important. Get some exercise. It can be any kind of free hand, it can be just jogging in a small area, and right now in the lockdown you can do some freehand exercises, you can do some yoga poses. So it's also very important in this point of time to do some meditation. So try and do some kind of meditation, simple breathing exercises, pranayams, whatever you can do. So if you can do it at this point of time, in this time frame, then your brain, it will actually freshen up very fast, and it can kickstart the entire day. And if you want, you can just grab a tea or coffee. If you want to drink at that point of time, you can wait a little later for the breakfast, but at least have something to drink. The best thing is if you can start off with 2 glasses of water, because that is the best liquid to drink. And then 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. So this is your first study session of the day. Now at this point of time, your brain is not fully active, it is not fully awake. So at this point of time, what you should do, you should be studying GA. Now remember that as I told you in my batching process, GA and your reading, these are the two things that you will be doing each and every day. So the first thing that you should be doing in the day, you should be reading GA. You should be going through the last day's GA section, and all of your previous notes what you had actually made, you can just revise that. So it will actually help a lot to retain this information, because your brain at this point of time, it is just waking up, and if you can get the new information at this point of time, then you will be able to retain it in the best possible way. Okay, so you have done that for 1 hour, and now you are coming to 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. So what is this time frame? What you should be doing? You should be studying the subject of the day. So as I told you, I have already told you what you should be studying for each of the days. So whichever is the subject of your day, you just go ahead and you study that subject. So either you are reading quant, or you are reading English, or you are reading reasoning. So this is your first session of the day for this subject. Now from 10 to 10:30, have your breakfast and just take a little bit of a break, and then from 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. this is very, very important, because as I told you, for all the research that has been done and all the different sources that I have gone through, everybody is in agreement that 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. is the most productive time of a morning person's day. So in this period of time, what happens, your brain is extremely active, and your brain, if it is extremely active, you should be doing something that is actually very creative, actually something that challenges your brain. So at this point of time, do not try and get some solutions of your mock tests, or just see any solutions. You should be doing problems. So this point of time, these 3 hours, spend properly and just do some problems. Time yourself, and you can do some quant problems, or you can do some reasoning problems, or some English problems. Any kind of problems you can do in this time frame. It will actually help you a lot, because this will be the most productive part of your day. Then after that, from 1:30 to 2, you should be finishing off with your lunch and take a small break, and then from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Now this is the time frame in the entire day of a morning person where he or she is least active. Now it has been seen that for most people, this point of time from about 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., that is a time when the energy level is quite low. So this point of time, how can you use it? You do not need to do rigorous study in this point of time. What you can do from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. is you watch some podcasts, you watch some videos, just take some rest and just relax a little bit. Relax and take it it slow. You do not need to worry about studies a lot in this point of time. What you need to do, you just need to keep your brain active, and even if you want, you can take a little bit of a power nap. So try and get around 20 to 40 minutes of sleep, not more than that. Just 20 to 40 minutes, that will be enough. You can sleep and you can just go ahead and recharge your brain in this point of time from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And after this point, then what happens, from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. you can take your tea or coffee, and once you have done that, you have a little bit of a more battery, so to say. So if you have that, so from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. this is the point of time where you should be doing all kinds of analysis. So your analytical part of the brain, the thing that actually grasps a lot of learning, that part is very active during this point of time. So this 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. whatever problems you have actually solved, so in this point of time here you had been solving a lot of problems, right? So all those problems, the answers to that you can discuss over here. You can actually check, and you can even review a lot of the things that you had already done. So from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. review. Just try to understand how you had performed and try and see where you have gone wrong. So this will be another 3-hour work session. So by 10:30 p.m. you should have finished off with your dinner, and you will be getting an ample amount of time. From 9 to 10:30 you can just watch some TV, or you can do something that you like. So all of the things you do, and at 10:30 p.m. just call it a night. Just go to sleep at 10:30 p.m. Do not wait longer than this, because if you are burning the midnight oil, I am not a advocate of that. So I firmly believe that a person should get at least 8 hours of sleep. It's very important that you get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. It's very important for your proper functioning of the brain. So you need to think about this in the long term. So in the long term, you need to have your brain functioning for a long amount of time, and you cannot sacrifice your sleep. So this entire thing what we talked about, this is for a person who is at the home and who is studying. So this is just somebody who is not working. But if you are working, say, then you cannot follow this, right? If you are working, then the first part of your day, like 6:30 a.m. you can wake up, but from 8 a.m. to around 5 p.m. this will be blocked out for your work. So this point of time, this time you are going to be spending most of the time in the office, or you are going to be commuting. So my advice for you is that if you are a morning person, try and get to your office as early as possible and get your work done. Most people would not actually be at the office at this hour. So you have to understand that if you get to work early and you finish off with the work, then you can try and get off work a little bit early as well. I know it's very difficult for IT people to do that, and I understand that, but what you can do is you can finish off the most of your work, and then later on in the end of the day, if you have some time, you can devote it to yourself. You can go ahead, you can walk outside, you can go to a tea shop, you can just study something on your mobile, you can do a lot of things at the end of the day. So try and finish off your work as much as possible in the early parts of the day, and around 6 p.m. you should try to get back home. Now for IT people it's going to be difficult. You might not be home until 8 or 9, and that is fine. After you come back home, use that time until 10:30 to actually get some work done. Now if you have used your time well, from 6:30 to 8 you can work a little bit, and then when you are commuting, say you are commuting for work 2 hours a day, so in this 2 hours what you can do, you can catch up on GAMCQs. So you can find GAMCQs a lot over YouTube, you can find it on my channel as well. So all these GAMCQs you can practice even while on the go. So this is a important part of the preparation that you can take while you are actually traveling. So try to use your travel time well. If you are right now working in a job, it will be very, very beneficial in the long term. And then finally, you have to sleep by 10:30 p.m. Try to go to sleep and try to have sufficient amount of rest, because if you are handling both your job responsibilities and also your studies, then it can become a very difficult thing to do. And this is about all the weekdays, right? So all these things that we talked about, this is about the weekday. Now for the weekend, what you can do, so for the weekend, as I told you that I block it out for my mock tests. So if I am doing a prelims mock tests, so what I will be doing, I will be taking around 6 or 7 prelims mock tests in those 2 days, in Saturday or Sunday. So for Saturday and Sunday, don't worry about too much about timetables. Just try to do as many mock tests as possible, because those 2 days you will be getting a long period of time without interruption. So even a job person or even a person who is actually studying at home, both of these types of people, they can get get a lot of time in those 2 days to actually practice. So keep it for your mock tests, and throughout the week you can take to actually analyze what had gone wrong in those mock tests. So for prelims, target for 6 or 7 mock tests in those 2 days, and for if you are doing for mains mock tests, then you can target 2 or 3. And I would suggest that mix it up. So if in 1 week you have done prelims mock tests, then in the next week you can do for the mains. Now when the prelims exam is actually coming very near, then what you can do, you can just go ahead and do the prelims mocks only. After the prelims is over, then you can again revert back to mains. So this is how a morning person's day can actually be scheduled, and actually it can be structured. So let us move to the night owl's timetable. So it will be exactly a similar kind of thing, but just there is a slight difference that I will be showing you. So night owl, of course a night owl will be different for different people, and first I will be talking about a person who is studying from home, who is at home without any kind of job. So what you can do, 10:30 a.m. you are rising because you have been going at it for a long amount of time at the night. So 10:30 a.m. try to wake up, don't be much more late than this. So 10:30 a.m. when you are waking up till 11:30 a.m. what you can do, you can just finish off with your breakfast, get freshened up, and do a little bit of free hand exercises and meditation if you can. So exercises and meditation, these things are very important. These things are something which you cannot compromise with if you want to get success in the long term, because your health is the most important thing. Once your health goes, everything else goes as well. So take care of your health. So finally you have done that. Now we come to 11:30 to 2:30. So in this period of time you have to break it up a little bit, 3 hours, right? So 11:30 to 12:30 try and do your GA practice. So all the GA questions try and just revise a little bit as you can, and the new things also you read down, you make your notes. So 11:30 to 12:30 finish off with your GA preparation, and then the next 2 hours you devote to the subject of the day. But this time you will not be solving a lot of things over in these 2 hours. Try and analyze the last day's things that you had solved. Try to analyze those. Do not try to do new things over here. I will tell you why. Because for a night owl, what is happening at this point of time, your brain is not too much awake, and you cannot have that creative energy that comes to you at the night. So what you have to do at this point of time, just do the reflection kind of things. Just see what you have done earlier, and you can just try and find out where you have gone wrong and where you have gone right. Then 2:30 to 3, try to finish off your lunch at this point of time. From 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. again, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. is the time frame that you are not going to be too much active. You can be a little bit active, but for most people it becomes very difficult after lunch. So in this point of time, watch some podcasts, watch some videos, and what you can do, you can also do your reading. So as I told you that GA and reading, these two things are something that you have to do each and every day. So you can read something on your mobile, you can use the apps, you can even pick up a newspaper and read some articles, and just try to get into the habit of reading. Listen to podcasts, listen to English being spoken, and also read the English. That will be very helpful for your English preparation, for your descriptive, and for your interview as well. You will be getting a lot of things. So just take it easy in these 3 hours, and from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. finish off with your evening tea and just get some exercise done. Just walk around a little bit, because you need to do that, because you need to be active for a long amount of time. As I told you, you cannot go ahead and neglect all of these things. From 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. now, what you have to do, here also you will be doing the subject of the day. So as I told you that different days that I allocate for different subjects, you can also fine tune it according to your needs, and you can just see different kind of strategies, and you can do a lot of analysis also in this point of time. And then the most important thing comes after your dinner. So 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. finish off with your dinner, and from 11 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. this is the point of time for a night owl that they are the most attentive, they are the most focused, and you can get the maximum amount of work done. So this is the most creative point of time for a night owl, and for this point of time you have to solve as many questions as possible. So try to solve your quant or reasoning or English questions. So all of the questions, the new questions that you want to solve it at this point of time, because your brain, if you are a night person, is most active during this point of time. So try to solve that, and from 1:30 to 2:30 just do your own activities. Just take it a little bit easy, and by 2:30 10:30 a.m. you should call it a day and you should sleep. So this was all for somebody who is actually at home studying. And if you are working, so what you can do, I don't think you can sleep till so long if you are working. If you are lucky and you are in IT and you are in different shifts, then maybe you can do, but by 10:30 you should be at the office. So at this point of time, by around 6 to 7 p.m. of the day, so this part of the day, it is actually blocked by your job. So you are actually going to be free from 8 or 9. So this is actually not too bad, because you can get your work done in a long session. So from 8 to 1:30 a.m. you have to try and find out a way in which you can study as much as possible. So 11 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. will be your most active time. As I already told you, this is the time that a night person should be using to his or her maximum, and at 2:30 a.m. call it a day. So this is something that a working professional can also look into, and they can draft their own customized timetable around this thing. So I hope that you understood how I want you to structure the day. So let us move to the slippage prevention. So how do you avoid failures now? So this is also very interesting, because we start off with a timetable, but what happens is after a few days we are no longer able to actually commit to it. So what you can do to prevent this thing from actually going astray, you can do journaling. So each day when you are waking up, you can do a goal listing. So write down 5 to 10 things in that day in which you must excel, or things that you must achieve. So you can write down that some specific and measurable goals. Do not write any kind of things which are very generic. So don't write that I am going to get better in quant. Write that I will be able to solve 15 questions in 25 minutes. Or you can write down that I will be finishing off with the chapter, like you can be saying that I will be finishing off with ratio chapter, or average chapter, or profit or loss chapter. You can say that I will be finishing off some topic of reasoning. So try and list down your mini goals, and you can just later on see whether you have achieved it. Then the second thing you have to do is the one thing on your list. If you complete that, you will be satisfied. Pick that one list. So in that list, if all of the things, among all of the things, only one you could do, and only one that would actually satisfy you, pick that thing and make it a top priority goal. So that should be your top priority. At the end of the day, what you will be doing, you will be doing a day end audit. So end of day audit, and that audit, in that audit you will be finding out which are the things that you achieved and which are the things that you did not achieve. Now write down all of these things in a diary or in a textbook. Do not do this digitally. This is very, very important. A very important thing that happens when you are writing on a pen, on paper, is that your thoughts, they are actually much more structured, and you can hold yourself accountable in a much better way. You have to do it in a tangible way. So don't do it on an app, or just don't do it on your mobile phone, because that will not have the same effect. So use a pen and paper when you are doing all of these things. And finally, you can use the productivity apps. So I've already talked to you about the productivity challenge timer. I've also talked to you about different productivity apps in previous videos. So if you want me to cover any of these apps to actually help you, then you can let me know. I will make separate videos on these apps. And finally, reward versus punishment. So you need to reward yourself and you need to punish yourself. So if you are achieving your goal, what will be your reward? Do something that you love. So if just tell yourself that if I am going to be achieving these goals, so if you get more of your goals, then the next day you are going to allocate 15 minutes for watching your favorite show, or just give yourself any treat that if you are able to do a big goal, then the next day you will be watching a movie. So these kinds of positive incentives, they teach your brain to strive harder to actually achieve this goal, because if there is no goal involved, then you will not be motivated to actually go ahead and achieve those things. So try and keep some rewards, and also try some punishments as well. So if you found that you are not getting your goals done, then punish yourself. Then for one day, say that you are not going to rest in the afternoon, you will be working and you will be trying to improve yourself. So any kind of punishment you can give to yourself, or any kind of reward also you can give to yourself, and these kinds of things are psychologically seen to be very important to avoid falling into some slippages. So finally, the exceptions and the future adaptation that we always talk about. So the exceptions, one of the exceptions is the housewife. So especially if somebody, a lady has a lot of responsibilities, so they have children in the house, it becomes very difficult. And I received a lot of questions also regarding this. So my advice to all such ladies, first of all, immense respect for all of the ladies who are trying to prepare with having their child, or who are doing their duties at home and they are also preparing for these exams, and I am really amazed that you have so much determination. So what you have to do is, you have to find out 3 points in the day in which you can structure your work schedule, so you can get more work done in 3 of these times. So the first time, it will be early in the morning when your child is actually sleeping, when entire family is sleeping. Then you can wake up a little bit early and you can get your work done. After the day starts, then there is a lot of chatter, there is so much to be done, there is breakfast to be made, there are dishes to be washed, etc, etc. So it becomes very difficult. So early morning, try and get up before anybody else, and you have to get your work session done. Then in the middle of the afternoon, where everybody is going to sleep or they are in a low energy kind of mode, this is the time that you can use to actually develop yourself. So in the afternoon, schedule a lot of your work sessions and you can get a lot more amount of work done. And then finally, at the end of the day, when everybody is actually going to sleep, just wait for around 1 hour or 2 hours before you go to sleep. Study, you just be by yourself, because at that point of time everybody has slept and you do not have any extra work to be done. So at that point of time, you can try and get some work done. So these 3 important points of the day you can use, and I am sure if you are determined, nothing can stop you, because you have the blessings of your entire family with you. And then the evolution of the timetable. So as I told you, I am a big believer that you should customize your own timetable. I have only given you some pointers, and of course this is not set in stone. Try and find out what works best for you. So and remember, there is a life out there. Out of these studies, there is a different kind of world out there. So do not neglect your social life, do not neglect your parents, do not neglect your friends. Just try to take them with you. You can have a little bit of evolution of your timetable, so you can allocate some time for your social time, for your meeting with your friends, so talking with your parents, your friends. So you can do that, and you can just evolve your own timetable. And prelims and mains focus changes, so I talked about this as well. So you have to change your strategy as per you are preparing for your prelims or you are preparing for mains. So the weekends especially, so if you are doing your mocks in those weekends, you can do prelims mocks or mains mocks based on this, and you can actually always have this idea. So as I told you that when the prelims is near, then focus only on the prelims. When the prelims is very far, then you can do both prelims and mains, and after the prelims is over, you can obviously do only the mains. And finally, the reward and punishment. This is also something that I talked about. So remember this reward and punishment very, very well. Positive incentive and negative incentive, they are the very important psychological pillars to train yourself to get better each and every day. And finally, the secret to the timetable. So this is the most important thing that I want you to remember, is that nobody is perfect. Even I do not stick to my timetable each and every day, and everybody out there, they miss. It is okay to miss. Remember the famous words of Rocky: it doesn't matter how many times you get kicked, how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times we can get hit but keep moving forward. So keep moving forward. I hope that you learned something from this video and that it was beneficial to you. If you have enjoyed it, please leave a like and please share it with your friends, and do not forget to subscribe to this channel and ring on the bell icon so that you, my friend, do not miss any future update. Remember, each of us, we all have 24 hours only, and it's what we make of it that matters. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.